Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time on this Wednesday night, except it's a Tuesday night. Got to keep my days straight because we are two sleeps from the NFL draft, and we're happy to have you guys in for another episode of the Prime Time Show. We spoke to Brian Callahan. We spoke to Rand Carthon. We spoke to Chad Brinker. Today, in a pre-draft press conference at the Titans facilities, we've got some news and notes to dive into and just kind of gauging your level of confidence in your football franchise right now, where things stand with the current administration, what you're most confident in, and what you're least confident in. Real simple. We will do a gone viral video at the end of the show, as is the custom, because that's what we do on Tuesday nights, and we're very happy to have you in for another episode. Learned a lot from the press conference today, and we're not going to be able to cover all of it, but I wanted to make sure that I highlighted two main points here before we flesh it out for a longer period of time tomorrow on the radio show. We'll have a lot to talk about tomorrow on the radio show between the Preds game 2 here in just 2 hours from now with a 9 p.m. puck drop in Vancouver, and of course, all things Titans pre-draft press conference that need to be discussed. But we're going to get to the main bullet points tonight on the Primetime Show, and I'm happy to have you guys in here to discuss. Matthew Davenport says, what time is this supposed to be starting? It starts at 7 now. 7 p.m. Central Time is the new Primetime Show. This is our first week for the Primetime Show at 7 p.m., and there will be additional changes coming to Primetime before the football season, but we'll keep you up to date on that as necessary. Right now, the only thing that you need to know is that I'll be an hour earlier on a regular basis, and I'm in a much better mood for it. I meant to text Austin and Zach today just how much better I sleep with an hour more to decompress at night, how much better a mood I'm in with prime time an hour earlier. So I really, really appreciate you guys accommodating me, because it's going to be for the best for everybody. Now, when one of you piss me off, I still can't guarantee that I won't snap at you the way that I typically do, but just know that it will be from a more genuine place instead of me just being cantankerous and tired at the end of the night. Either way, we're happy to have you with 2 more sleeps until the draft. So before we get started, need you to share the broadcast around, as is the custom, wherever you're spending your time with us. We appreciate it if you would share the show. If you are on Twitter, please retweet it in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. If you're on Facebook Live, you can share now to public. That's in the bottom left. And if you're on YouTube or Twitch, like I see Eric Gordon, I see Trey Wynn, I see a couple of people hanging out in the comment section. You can like the video. You can subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. We always appreciate it when you like the video, either at the start of the show or before you end your evening. Monsoon says he likes that it's earlier. Okay, this is so far. In all seriousness, before we get started, you guys, do you guys like the earlier time? I see a lot of love for it. Shady Production says likes the earlier time too. This was something that we were going back and forth on. So if the majority of you, we want to make sure that it works for the audience. Like, my general happiness and mood is also important to an extent. But if it works for you guys, then it works for me, which is the thing that I wanted to make sure that we were staying balanced with. So a lot of you on the East Coast, a lot of you seem to appreciate it. So that's great. Love to see it. And I don't think I'm bothering too many of you in Central Time, or if you're viewing it on Pacific Time or Mountain Time, I guess there's always a podcast if you can't watch it live, if that's too early for you. Anyway, we have a lot to get to, so let's go ahead and get into it. Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time from the Zen Sports Studios. If you're new to the broadcast, or if you're like Adam Cruz and you haven't been able to watch live in a while, hello, welcome back. I'm Buck Rising. I'm your host if you're new to the show, and I'm proud as always to be presented to you by the fine folks at the Two Rivers Ford dealership. The South's most trusted Ford dealer is Two Rivers Ford. Quality American-made Ford vehicles and award-winning customer service. They're also the presenting sponsor of the Install Live Show with Greg Cosell and ran Carthon not too far from now. On Friday, we will be a week away from the live show, and I can't wait to see all of you guys who bought your tickets ahead of time. I told you to buy your tickets ahead of time because I'm getting tweets today saying that are we giving away any tickets to the live show, this, that, and the other. I didn't get my live show tickets when I told you to get the tickets. That's okay. Just know that next year it's probably going to be presented by Two Rivers Ford as well. TrueMav Fitness in the Gulch. Your first workout is free as a Middle Tennessee resident. TrueMavFitness.com for your first workout free, and they'll get you in position to succeed. And Zen Sports, where you can wager on the NHL playoffs. I've got the Caps and the Rangers on in the studio right now, going back and forth between the NHL and the NBA. You can bet all your favorite major sports and all your favorite postseason sports in the Zen Sports app using that promo code ATOZTN. We had a press conference today. We had a pre-draft press conference. There will be many, many post-draft press conferences in just a few days from now, of which I will be a part. Be at the facility all weekend long covering this for you, so you can read about it at A2ZSports.com. Obviously, I'll have live social media updates, and I'm sure I'll do a couple of reels. I've never done an IG Live video. Maybe the draft is when we experiment with some IG Live type of stuff. I haven't really looked into it. I haven't asked anybody if that's what I should be doing. Either way, we'll see. I will be producing content from the practice facility where I spent my afternoon today. After the radio show concluded, whipped on over to St. Thomas Sports Park, caught the press conference with Rand Carthon and Brian Callahan. There was also an introductory comments from Chad Brinker, who is a critical part of the scouting and team building process. And, they're trying to get this new regime organized that way. So Chad Brinker opened the press conference that way. And for all the discussion, all the hypotheticals, all this, that, and the other that we've gone back and forth on, the Titans finally have their draft board set. They have it in position. Rand Carthon said that they were just tying up some loose ends, that their scouting staff, while we were conducting the press conference with them, that the rest of the staff was going through the undrafteds in that part of the process to be prepared for the post-draft free agency that will immediately begin, not just with veterans that are out there, but with all the guys that don't get drafted. So looking around at all this stuff and seeing what the Titans are in position to do, I'm not going to ask you who you guys, we'll do. I'm contemplating doing a live mock draft show tomorrow, which every one of my better instincts, because I hate the mock draft so much, every one of my better instincts tells me not to do it, but I think you guys would really enjoy it. And again, this show is for you. It's not for me. So I'm going to discuss and debate with Bert tomorrow about whether we should do a live mock draft show here on Primetime. D Good says, "Do it, coward." Well, we'll see. We will consult with the powers that be and see if that's not the best plan of action, because probably what I'm going to end up doing tomorrow is just asking you who you want the Titans to pick. But in the meantime, I want to take a look at the process that these new figures, Rand Carthon in a new and elevated role, even though it's his second year technically as the general manager, and Brian Callahan in his first year on the job as the head coach, what you are confident in about your new brass, your new Titans brass, and what you lack confidence in. So let's start with what you're most confident in. It's your Two Rivers Ford take. So the new power structure for the Titans organization. What are you most confident in ahead of the 2024 NFL draft? It can be Rand Carthon's ability to scout because you like what he did in 2023. It can be Brian Callahan and his experience dating back to Cincinnati because, of course, as he's mentioned before and mentioned with us on the radio show in the interview that we did with him back at the Combine, he was a very key part of the pre-draft scouting process for the Bengals as well. So what about the new Titans brass are you most confident in here on this Tuesday evening? We'll talk about it together on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. It's your Two Rivers Ford take. It's presented by the South's most trusted Ford dealer. That is, of course, Two Rivers Ford. Quality American-made Ford vehicles and award-winning customer service from a sales staff that is non-commissioned, meaning they get a paycheck whether they sell you a car or not. So there's no pressure on you throughout the course of the car buying process. That's why Two Rivers Ford is the level of successful that they are. They have had success. They have been in Middle Tennessee for over 40 years as the South's most trusted Ford dealership. Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com for more information. What are you most confident in about Rand Carthon and Brian Callahan, their staffs working together to pull this most important Titans draft in a decade off at this point? Anthony Ripito says, when you commercials, so he can't finish the sentence, when you commercials, it gets very old. Well, Anthony, when you want things to be free, or when you don't want to pay for things behind a paywall and then question why there are commercials on the show when we make all this shit free for you on a regular basis. In fact, the sponsors make this shit for you on a regular basis. Not only does it get old, the bitching and whining about that, but you sound ungrateful. And honestly, Anthony, you should probably just take your ass out of here, because if you don't care to hear about the commercials, the people that make this show free for you, then I really don't have any interest in talking to you, giving you the analysis, telling you what I think, what I heard, who I've talked to at the press conference, all the shit that I give you gift wrapped on a plate to you. I literally deliver it to your phone each and every night. You get it. You even get you are so damn spoiled that you get a notification to your phone every time that I'm ready to talk to you about something with the Titans. You know what gets old? The bitching and whining about the people that make this show possible. So honestly, Anthony, if you're not interested in pre-draft discussion, if you're not interested in hearing what the general manager and the head coach had to say at a press conference that I was a part of that Two Rivers Ford also makes possible, you can kick rocks, sit and spin, and take your ass out of here, because I'm not interested in hearing you bitch about the people who make all of this stuff possible and who make this worth my time to come here and sit and talk to you. And not that all of you are ungrateful. In fact, many of you are incredibly grateful, which I appreciate. And not that I need your gratitude, but the last thing that I need is somebody in here bitching and moaning right to start the show about all of the nice things that our great and wonderful sponsors like Zen Sports, like Two Rivers Ford, like Gary Ashton, and like TrueMath Fitness make possible for you. You, my friend, can take your business elsewhere. That's all I want. All right, let's keep it moving. So, with the content and the discussions that we had today, there's a lot about the Titans front office structure to like. They're checking all the right boxes, yeah? So all of this stuff doesn't matter if they don't get the draft, if they don't nail the draft. And not just like do well, not just kind of look at this situation and say, well, you know, we came away with better players, or half of the draft looks like it's viable. Half of these guys will probably play teams, this, that, and the other. Whatever the case may be, you need to 2019 style nail this NFL draft. This is the thing that is going to support your quarterback, who is in a critical spot in his NFL career. You need to have it definitively figured out on Will Levis this year. By the end of the 2024 regular season, or if the Titans, you know, somehow put themselves in a meaningfully competitive spot to compete for a wild card or potentially even the AFC South title this offseason. Excuse me while I cough. This is a critical offseason for Will Levis, because as we talked about last night, Zach Wilson serves as just the latest draft day or draft season warning about if you don't get the quarterbacks right, and if you put them in positions where it's too early for them to play, as Zach Wilson was, as Trey Lance probably was, as Justin Fields probably was, you have to be able to move on from them immediately. So if Will Levis isn't the 100% bona fide answer at the quarterback position for the Tennessee Titans by the end of the 2024 regular season, you got to find out if you can move him. You got to find out if you can do what so many other teams this offseason did. Traded Kenny Pickett, traded Desmond Ridder, traded Sam Howell. And I know those are lesser quarterbacks than we're talking about with Levis, but still, you have to be ready, willing, and able to move on if you don't definitively have the answer that you need by the end of the season, because the last thing that you want is to get Marioted and to get stuck in this kind of quarterback purgatory that I know Titans fans are intimately familiar with. The worst case scenario is that you become the Broncos and you go a decade without figuring out the quarterback situation, but you feel pretty good about Levis. It's real easy to knock one of these rookie or young quarterbacks off their kilter in the development process if you don't get this shit right around them. And so looking at what the Titans have done right now, I'm most confident in, before I let you hear from Brian Callahan and Rand Carthon, the thing that I'm most confident in is the way that this group of individuals works together. They have been very, very upfront about it's not one person's decision. This is a decision made by the group. Whereas we know, and listen, I have a tremendous amount of respect for Mike Vrabel. I know some of you aren't the biggest fans of him after the way that his tenure ended here. And it's not to say that Mike was right or justified in what he was asking for, some of the decisions that he was making, in kind of looking at Rand Carthon coming in and saying, well, I don't necessarily know that that's my guy to be the GM, and I don't know if he's ready for that job. Turns out Rand Carthon's ready enough for this job. He's made some incredibly important signings. His connections to these players and to their representation has been critical in landing guys like Lloyd Cushenberry, Calvin Ridley on 12 hours notice, basically, and including the L'Jarius Sneed trade to stay patient and to work through it. And the fact that they're working so well in concert with the coaching staff, which, maybe we don't see every day or I don't have access to necessarily their meetings, but I hear enough things. I talk to enough people, and smooth sailing so far. Now, did we have any idea that it was as rocky with Mike in particular last year at this time? No. And so it's not always sunshine, daisies, and butterflies the way that people who are trying to project something might imagine it to be. And there has been some feedback from inside the building that hasn't been overwhelmingly glowing, that hasn't been the most positive about the process that this particular group of people has been putting together. In fact, I got a couple of texts last night from some people leaving some pre-draft meetings that were less than glowing about the process for the Titans, but that's okay. You're always going to have some degree of disagreement. The job is to work through those disagreements, work through those differences of opinions. Vernon uses the C word, collaborate in finding the solution, and then make the best decision for everybody moving forward. Wasn't always as easy in the previous administration as it seems to be now. Jacob Ray says, Mike held Rand back. It's a tough thing. It's a tough thing to determine or to say definitively, but nothing about Rand Carthon's offseason to date has indicated to me that the man needs training wheels. You know what I'm saying? And that was kind of what was implied at the time that Vrabel was displeased, or not displeased, but not necessarily 100% on board with the hire of Rand Carthon. And that's what it is. Trey says, like any good relationship, absolutely, you have to have compromise in relationships, otherwise they fail. As somebody who has failed in several relationships in my life, I will tell you that compromise is critical and that both parties have to find ways to work through it and still come out for the better on the other side. So I am confident in the relationship between these two men and how their staffs are working under them. And that was something that I think Brian Callahan spoke to specifically earlier today.
Yeah, I think we got really good coaches that know how to evaluate. That part's been evident to me. It's been fun to see that side. Every organization is different. I've been a part of different ways, but the fact that I think our coaches have a valued opinion in the process, I think makes them want to do an even better job and make sure that they're on top of the players they like and why. And when they get a chance to talk through those players with all the guys with Rand and the scouting staff, that they got good researched, valued opinions. And when you're included in the process as a coach, it makes you want to do a really good job and making sure that these are the players that we want and we're standing up for and that fit what we're trying to do. And I think the process between us and the scouting staff has been pretty seamless, and they've done a great job. So I'm really excited about the work that they've put in. It's been a lot of work. And I just think that I've gained a ton of respect for them, not just as coaches, but as evaluators and understanding what they're looking for and what they want the systems to look like. And that part's been really cool.
So that's Brian Callahan speaking earlier today, A to Z Sports Primetime. Where's our guy? Is he going to be triggered when I tell him about people that make the show free for him? Oh my God, make sure you warn him that I'm going to tell you about the great people, the wonderful people, the phenomenal people at Zen Sports. Promo code ATOZTN gets you in on all the action in the Zen Sports app, whether it's the NHL, the NBA playoffs, the Major League regular season, the UFL going on right now. You can get great odds and great promotions in the Zen Sports app. You can get up to $1,000 on your no danger first wager. You can even get same game parlays that get you even more in on the action. All you got to do is download the Zen Sports app, plug in the promo code ATOZTN. Remember that you must be 21 plus and in the state of Tennessee to bet. Terms and conditions do apply. Gambling problem, call the Tennessee Red Line, 1-800-889-9789. Yeah, Zen Sports. Did anybody check on our guy? Just an unbelievable dipshit. It's just one of the dumbest things that people say to me on a regular basis. Oh, you do too many commercials. Okay, don't watch. Get out. Thank you, Zen Sports. Thank you, Zen Sports. Mwah! Thank you, Zen Sports. Unbelievable. All right. So looking at the different ways that the coaching staff helps with the scouting process, right? Because there's a bit of a misconception, okay, about the idea that coaches are watching college football, and I mean really studying college football to the same extent or kind of at the same pace that the scouting staff is, right? So a lot of coaches, and I think we've talked about this before, so forgive me if I've given you this, I don't want to call it a lecture, but if I've given you this in reruns before, but a lot of time coaches don't really start to watch college football film, college football tape, really dive in on the evaluations of the players until the Senior Bowl, which, as we know, is the week before the Super Bowl happens, which many of you would consider pretty late in the game. Now, couple that with the idea that not only are you at the Senior Bowl without a complete coaching staff put together, but you're without your general manager at the Senior Bowl, you're without your head coach at the Senior Bowl because they're hyper-focused on putting the rest of the staff together so that you can try and get them caught up to date. Now, they obviously delegate that with area scouts. They have many, many levels of the front office organization to make sure that the reports are done, if not physically laying eyes on players in Mobile or at the Shrine game or whatever the case may be. But a lot of this is so condensed for especially a new coaching staff that, yeah, the extra week that they get for off-season conditioning, off-season program to begin, it helps a little bit. But they're grinding at an incredible rate because they got to put together the staff. All of a sudden, free agency's on your doorstep. Holy hell, we have to make sure that we get this right because we've got all kinds of money to spend. We got a really shitty football team that we have to patch back together, and we have to be in on literally every one of the best players at every position because we have to be. We have the money to be. There's only one way to get this thing back up to base level competency until such time as we get to the draft. And then the burden of, 400 plus players being dropped on your lap as a new coaching staff that just got in the building, trying to figure out where you're going to live, trying to figure out how, your family's going to work and school systems and all these different kind of like real life things on top of just the scouting process, right? So the fact that they feel as confident as they are in the coach's ability to help the scouts with their jobs speaks to the level of experience on everybody under Brian Callahan. His father, Bill, right? Over 40 years of being in the NFL or college football in some form or fashion, being able to draw draft comps back to 1998 for guys that the scouts have never heard of, but Bill Callahan coached or was an assistant around or, was a quality control coach or this, that, and the other because he's seen so many different levels of football. Hugely important for the offensive line evaluation because he is able to identify these guys, how they work, how they move, how they function, and how you can make them fit as well as anybody in professional football, right? That's Bill Callahan's thing. Frank Bush, a very, very veteran linebacker coach who they're going to bring in to work with Kenneth Murray, who they're going to rely upon to help them find Kenneth Murray's running mate because right now they don't have it on the roster other than Jack Gibbons and Otis Reese, and nobody feels overwhelmingly confident about that. Monsoon Monahan says, what a process just to play a game, and all that for all kinds of weird shit to happen in these games, right? For the weirdest shaped ball in all of professional sports to dictate the outcomes because, there's a fumble or there's somebody got by the turf monster and all of a sudden all kind of weird bounces are happening, all the hard work, all the grinding, all the time away from your families, all the sleepless nights. Rand Carthon said earlier today he'd been up since 2:30 this morning because something in his mind brought him out of a slumber and started to make him panic about, not panic, but, start to make him think or get the wheels turning about what he could do in this particular scenario. What happens if this team trades out or trades back? Whatever the case may be, it is a huge undertaking just to play football, right? But as we've gone through this, and as I've learned more about the coaching staff that they put together, and I had the opportunity to talk to a lot of people around the team as they're coming in not like official capacities, not like press conference capacities, but you spend enough time around people at the combine, you try to make connections, you try to get in touch with people who you may not know through other people who you're connected to in the league, and this, that, and the other. And so to try and back channel some of this stuff, I feel really good, feel really confident about where the Titans coaching staff is in conjunction with the front office, which is not something that we could have said a year ago. Danny Sutherland says, imagine if J-Rob put in this kind of effort, LOL. John Robinson absolutely did, Danny. John's greatest mistake, well, John's greatest mistake is at the end kind of closing himself off to that collaboration, right? The C word. There's a reason that it's getting hammered home around the Titans organization as much as it was. And I know a lot of people are pinning that on Vrabel, but that is way more than just Vrabel. John was kind of closed off at the end to outside opinions, which made the situation hard to manage. Now, John was also tasked with trying to put together football teams in the midst of a global pandemic. And while he failed spectacularly in the 2020 season, both in the draft and free agency, I really have a hard time. It's bad. They're still paying the consequences for John Robinson's mistakes. Okay. I'm not absolving John of any great blame, but I'm also factoring in the idea that Mike Keith was on the radio show today. He said something to the effect of like maybe 60 out of 300 plus players from the 2020 draft are still in the league because of how hard it made the scouting and evaluation process. Because and just general like strains and stresses that post-pandemic life have wreaked on a lot of us, not just football players, right? Not just athletes trying to get their jobs done, but on a lot of different people. Changed the way that a lot of us live our lives on a daily basis. So I don't want to completely absolve John of blame, but it was a couple of different things that compounded. It's not for a lack of effort. John Robinson absolutely busted his ass. He absolutely cared about making the Tennessee Titans, his hometown team, his local professional football team, as successful as humanly possible. And it just ultimately didn't work out that way. Chef Rand says whiffed on 2021 and 2022. Also, that's nothing. Nothing has gone back to pre-2020 scouting processes, right? And John's issues in struggling to adapt at the requisite rate, are a part of the reason that he's no longer here. And also trading AJ Brown got him fired. Like AJ Brown for sure got John Robinson fired. Like that's just a dumb move. Like there's all kinds of things that we can come up with the scouting process. And oh my God, how could they make such a terrible mistake on Panda? Well, it's the COVID draft. Scouting's harder. You can't meet with anybody. Campus is shut down. All of that, you could probably still save yourself some grace if AJ Brown's still on the rosters. That's really the biggest elephant in the room, to be honest with you. So we've talked about what we're most confident in. Now let's get to what we're least confident in. And there may not be a lot right now because it is a lot of sunshine, a lot of roses, a lot of goodwill. Rand's had a hell of an off season. To his credit, they have had great success in the free agency process, and you feel good about the direction of the coaching staff that they hired for no other reason than this is the way that the league is trending. You have a young quarterback that is in desperate need of development, and you've hired the people that you think are going to be able to help him to the best of their powers in that effort, right? You feel good about the direction. It all could turn out much differently than all of the good offseason vibes right now. It could turn into a substantially more difficult process. Levis may not make that leap. Callahan may not be a good in-game coach. Rand Carthon may not nail the draft as much or as critically as they need to. And all of this is a bit of a house of cards scenario because, again, you are chasing those 3 missed drafts prior to 2023 that put you in such a deep talent hole. None of that has happened yet, so it's not like we can be outright pessimistic, but it's fair to be skeptical about some things in this process. And so maybe, if not least confident, what are you skeptical about with the Titans front office, coaching staff? What are you most skeptical about right now with the Titans organization ahead of the draft? We'll talk about it together right after I remind you that the Primetime program is made possible by TrueMap Fitness in the Gulch. TrueMapFitness.com is where you go for your first workout free. As a Middle Tennessee resident, they are here to put you in position to succeed. Nobody gets you the best workout in Nashville the way that TrueMap Fitness does, because you can't get the best workout in Nashville anywhere but TrueMap Fitness. It's not just the group fitness classes. I am a huge proponent of their personal training. I've changed my schedule up for the personal training at TrueMap. I go on Fridays now, just a little easier with my schedule. Friday morning, little Arm Farm Friday with Worth and the boys at TrueMap Fitness. You can get in on the grind, improve your physical fitness, improve your health, improve your sleep, improve your life at TrueMapFitness.com, where that first workout is free. What are you least confident in, or just generally skeptical about with the Titans right now? Given the new construct, given all the new pieces and parts in place, what are you skeptical about to date? Matt Fortner says Notre Dame players are what I would say I'm least confident in. Well, I guess, Matt, maybe explain your logic to me in a little more detail, because there's nothing. I don't think the Titans. I'm trying to think of the last Notre Dame player that was on the Titans roster. I want to say it was the safety. Matthias Farley is the last name that comes to mind as far as former Notre Dame football players on the Titans. And he was fine. He was a depth player. He wasn't anything special, but he was just kind of a late stage free agency signing to come in here and play teams and help with your safety depth. It did end up having to play a little bit. I want to say that was the 2021 season, but why I'm not clear on why, Matt, you are out on Notre Dame players when Notre Dame players have had plenty of success in the league. Vernon Sanford says finding Nico's replacement is what I am least confident in at this point. It's tough, right? The needs for the defense are many. Danico Autry is no small individual, not literally or metaphorically speaking. He's not a small, these are huge shoes to fill, right? For whomever gets tasked with that. I don't think that Rashad Weaver is that guy. I don't think that Sebastian Joseph Day is that guy. You're still looking for somebody. I got a question today on the Instagram account, because we do, of course, the Q&As on the A to Z Sports Instagram account every Tuesday. I got today a question about what would you think if they did Dallas Turner at 7, the Alabama edge rusher. And while I'm not like out on Dallas Turner by any stretch of the imagination, I think Dallas Turner a fine player. Personally, for me, if I was looking for somebody to fill as many or as much of the need on the defensive line for the Titans, if it was just me, now they could feel completely different about this. They could have their draft board stacked differently and I don't have a draft board necessarily. It's just, I watch as much tape as I can, and then I bounce whatever I can't get off Cosell and smarter football people than I, to make sure that I'm, at least educated to an extent about as many prospects as humanly possible. Jared Verse, to me, is a better move than is Dallas Turner. Dallas Turner is a more specific player. Jared Verse, I think, can give you a lot from a couple of different positions. I think that he can play on the inside at the next level, as well as playing on the edge, which is something that Danico Autry did very, very well. Autry has as many outside linebacker snaps as he does D-tackle snaps in his time with the Titans here, and I'd expect Houston to deploy him just as creatively, even as he gets up there to an advanced stage. It wasn't going to last forever, right? Danico is at the end of his career for sure in Houston on that 2-year, $20 million deal. But I think that Jared Verse, for me in particular, would make a lot more sense. Not that they're going to go edge at 7, but in a hypothetical, if they went edge at 7, I would like that option better than I would like Dallas Turner in particular. But the thing that I'm least confident about right now is the defense. The way that the defense has been constructed, the defense missing a couple of critical pieces and parts, not for a lack of effort, because Ran Carthon, remember, was in on Jerome Baker. They were in on DJ Reader. They just ultimately were not able to get deals done. That's not a huge knock against them, but it has left them, going into this draft with still considerable needs on the defensive side of the ball. And Rand, for his part, not necessarily talking about the defense, but he was asked today if this was any easier for him, the pre-draft process this year versus last year, which was technically his first year. And what Rand Carthon said was, no, I'm not treating last year like my first year. I'm treating this year like my first year.
Rand, do you feel any more at ease just going through your second draft now, kind of knowing how it all goes? I know you're involved kind of in San Francisco, but being kind of the head guy as GM, do you feel any more settled this time around?
To me, this year's new. Different system, different head coach. I was talking with Tom Jones, I think earlier today, and I was telling him this is my first draft, because this is a new way of doing things and how we're going to do it. So it's new. It's never unsettling. I've been up since 2:30 this morning, just different things pop in your head, and you can't go to sleep, and you grab your phone, and now you're researching to the point where my wife put her hand on my shoulder. She was like, just put it down, and so it's that happens, you know what I mean? And so I'm excited, about the challenge. Excited to help bring, Brian's vision to light.
So it's not that I'm down on the work that they're going to have to do to put this Titans defense together, but I'm skeptical, right? Inside linebacker, multiple defensive linemen, I would say at least one edge rusher. You're razor thin at corner right now, and your safety still has a glaring hole in the back end where Kevin Byard used to roam. There is need at every level of the defense, and while I do think that Denard Wilson is going to be able to maximize the abilities of a lot of these players, it's just a lot to pull off in a short amount of time. So I guess what I'm most skeptical about is not just the defense, because maybe they go Junior Colson in the second round. Maybe they go Darius Robinson from Missouri in the second round if he's available to them at 38. That's probably somebody who's going to come off the board higher than that in the second round in particular, because edge rushers will still carry a premium. But I guess there's just so many needs across the board that I am skeptical of them being able to fill them all competently in this year, which was always my expectation. The Texans were not a perfect team last year, but they did enough and hit on the quarterback in his rookie season, and already had the franchise left tackle in place, and had the franchise left tackle stay healthy, and hit on Tank Dell to go with Nico Collins, who was absolutely a number one wide receiver in the NFL, isn't really talked about that way. They weren't a perfect team, but they were good enough to make it work in that season to go from worst to first. So this year they can turn around. They can luxury spend on literally every defensive lineman that was available in free agency, including Azeez Al-Shaair. They can fortify their offensive line group. They still have a lot of picks left to play with, even though they traded for Stephon Diggs, and they did trade for Stephon Diggs because now they can afford to add those luxury pieces and parts. This is not a luxury pieces and parts draft for the Titans, right? This is meat and potatoes. Get the foundation of your football team, not just for 2024, but for the foreseeable future, for the next, we'll call it the next cycle. So between 5 and 6 years of a franchise's life cycle to try and get this thing back up and running. There will always be the post-draft free agency. There are still plenty of players, particularly at safety, for them to get this done. It's way thinner at inside linebacker and defensive line. So, and certainly corners are not something that you're going to be, they're not going to be premium players that are still left out there by the time we get through this thing in the first week of May. But there will still be some ways to fortify the roster. The question is are they just going to be able to do enough to make this thing meaningfully competitive? And what I mean by meaningfully competitive is this team should be competing at least for a wild card berth. Maybe they missed the playoffs, but at least competing for a wild card berth, whereas last year they were just kind of dead on arrival for the vast majority of the season. That would be a legitimate step. Let's wrap this thing up with a gone viral video here on the Primetime program on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. All you have to do is tell me what's the best thing that you saw on the internet this week. Reminder that there's only one more Primetime show this week, because obviously Thursday night I will be at the facility. I think we're doing some kind of live draft show, as far as I know. I don't know who exactly is involved with the live draft show. I know that Austin is out of town. I don't think Zach's doing it. And I'm obviously going to be at the facility. In fact, I think Lucas is doing it. I'm pretty sure Jake told me today that Lucas is going to be a part of the A to Z draft show, which is funny to me, but is great. So you can get some little extra Panzika if you don't get enough of him on the radio show with me for 3 hours a day. I think that will be a lot of fun for you guys. But I'll be at the facility covering it for you on social media, so you can enjoy that as well. And in the meantime, we will do one more primetime show tomorrow, and I'll probably end up doing the mock draft show, which sounds like my least favorite thing in the world. But as long as you guys have fun with it, then I'll look forward to it. Corey D. Jackson says, not coming to the stadium. Why the hell would I go to the stadium? What's the stadium? What do I care about? What am I going to do at Nissan Stadium? What are you doing at the stadium? Is there something going on at the stadium? I've done every draft. We always do the draft at the facility. Even when the draft was in Nashville, like I wasn't on Lower Broadway. I was sitting in the damn St. Thomas Sports Park media room, waiting for the pick to be made, waiting for the pick to be put on a press conference or a Zoom call with us, then schlepping down to the auditorium and doing a press conference. What am I going to do at the stadium? They have a draft party. The team. Okay, that's right. I did. I did a live read for it on the radio show today. With the draft party. So yeah, that'll be a lot of fun for Titans fans. But no, I'm not going to be doing it. I'm going to be working, which is fun. I'll look forward to it. This will be a spicy draft this year, in particular. Monsoon wants to know if they feed us. Yes, they do take care of us. I will eat basically breakfast, lunch, and dinner at the Titans facility Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So yes, they do take care of us very nicely, which we appreciate. So, because the best way to shut media people up is to give them free food. It doesn't even have to be good food. It just has to be free food. And that's all that it takes to get to the media, really. You just buy them food or give them food and they'll be happy and you'll get nice coverage. Anyway, so let's wrap this up with the best thing that I saw on the internet this week. The best thing that I saw on the internet this week comes courtesy of the Yes Network in a 2-0 loss for the New York Yankees against the Oakland Athletics, an exchange between Aaron Boone and an MLB umpire whose name escapes me at this particular moment in time.
Is the first base umpire you saw making that call?
You're not yelling at me. I did what I was supposed to do and check. I'm looking for him to get hit by the pitch. You got anything else to say? You're gone. Okay?
Oh, okay, Hunter. Wow. You know what? We're not going to need a John Boy breakdown of that one. We got a very clear.
Aaron,
well, there you go. And now Aaron's saying I didn't say anything. Aaron's saying, hold on a second, I didn't say a word.
Hey, shit. I mean, you don't care. I did not say a word. It was a bullshit. I did not say anything, Hunter. Okay, I did not say a fucking thing.
It's unbelievable. No matter how you feel about the Yankees, if you like Aaron Boone, if you hate Aaron Boone, that was, as Aaron Boone says, bullshit. The idea that somebody behind him was jawing at the umpire, that the umpire thought it was Aaron Boone, and that Aaron Boone got tossed because somebody behind him was yelling nasty things at the umpire. Unbelievably funny, but it was the best thing that I saw on the internet this week. That's going to do it for us tonight on the Primetime Show. Radio show tomorrow. Going to be a lot of fun. Who do we have on the radio show tomorrow? We had Mike Keith, voice of the Titans, today. That was a good time. I want to say, we have Mike Giardi of the Boston Sports Journal, because the Patriots are picking at 3. That has a direct impact on the Titans at 7. So we'll do that. We also have Preds playoff tickets to give away in the 11 o'clock hour. Game 2 is tonight, so we will see how that goes for the Predators. Hopefully they are able to steal a game in Vancouver before they come home for games 3 and 4. But like I said, Mike Giardi in the first hour, Preds playoff tickets in the second hour. We gave away a pair of Preds playoff tickets to game 4 today. So if you're not listening to the radio show in the 11 o'clock hour, you're screwing up. That's going to do it for us tonight. We appreciate you hanging out. Have a great rest of your evening, and I'll talk to you tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. on 104.5 The Zone.
Go home! Go home! Go home! You're embarrassing Nashville! Go home!